things. President Obama says keep rushing and keep hurrying. The president says get hopping on stimulus, no delays or distractions. The not-so-veiled message for Republicans, I won, you lost, get over it, and get on with it. What do you think of that, Georgia Republican Congressman Tom Price? Move it.
Well, Neil, great to be with you. I tell you, it seems fast and it seems like too much, but the real question is it going to work? And that's what the American people want to know. They want a solution to the challenges that we've got. I don't believe that this is the solution. In fact, the solution has been tried before, and it ought to be used again, and that is decreasing the amount of taxes that the American people pay, that American businesses pay, putting in place incentives to allow businesses to thrive, and beginning to decrease the amount of spending, not increase it, decrease it at the federal level. That's the solution to getting us moving.
Let me ask you, though, sir, just as you and I are chatting here, we got word from Texas Insurance that it's going to be laying off about 1,800 workers. Today, from various companies, we've got word of about 50,000 layoffs. So the more layup news we get like this, people, fairly or not, sir, are going to be saying that you're an obstructionist, that you're stopping measures that could stall these layoffs. What do you say?
Well, we've already had over $2 trillion of government spending. Now, if borrowing and spending was going to get us out of the morass and the difficulty that we're in, we'd already been there. The thing that we need to remember is that as Americans, we have had the greatest economy in the history of mankind. And we have because there are certain principles that we follow. And those are the principles that allow individuals to take risk, to realize reward, to keep their own money, to allow businesses to flourish. Those kinds of principles are the ones that we ought to be embracing now. Because until government gets out of the way, we will never get to the point where we'll be able to get our economy growing again. Government can't bring this back. People, American people, will do so if allowed to do so.
But what do you say then, Congressman, when the president says, look, I won, you guys lost? Obviously, American people, I'm paraphrasing here, seem to side more with my view than Republicans' view. Get out of my way.
Well, in fact, what he ran on was a tax cut for 95% of the American people. That's what he said. He said he was going to go through the budget line by line and make certain that there wasn't any wasteful spending. Those are conservative principles. That's what the American people want. That's what they know and understand will get us out of this challenge that we have. You know, I know, the American people know that borrowing and spending is not the way, and frankly it's money that we don't have, is not the way to end this challenge. We've got to unleash the American entrepreneurial spirit, that wonderful optimism that is across this land.
Well, you might be right, and I know this isn't your doing, but Republicans also spent money they said they wouldn't spend, in fact, recklessly, so I know you're trying to stop that cycle. But let me ask you about, it looks to me, Congressman, we're going to get this stimulus package. I know you're objecting to it, a number of your colleagues are objecting to it, but the numbers are the numbers, and you're in a distinct minority. So you can scream all you want, but nothing's going to change.
Right.
So now it becomes, how do you make it more palatable to Republicans? And one issue is that the president would hold off on those tax hikes for the upper income and not push them immediately, as Nancy Pelosi seems to have indicated. What do you say to that?
Well, again, the principle of the issue is that if you allow Americans to keep more of their hard-earned money and you put in place incentives to make it so American business can be competitive in the world, we have the second highest business tax rate in the world, in the industrialized world. There's no reason for that. It's no wonder that businesses flee this nation. We ought to bring that down and incentivize businesses to create jobs. It's the principles that will get us back to a solution. It's not more borrowing and spending on the part of the federal government. If the president insists on moving in this direction, and he appears to be doing that, then in fact what we'll be is here, you and I will be talking here in another 3 or 6 or 9 months, and we'll then be trying to figure out how to get out of the remarkable challenge that has increased. And I would suggest to you that we can do that now.
You raise a good point, Congressman, but what if you're wrong on that? What if by just sheer cycle trends we start coming out of this within the next year, and the president will point out, well, see, that was because of my stimulus package. And the prevailing view, now, again, I know you disagree with that, but the prevailing view will be, when you're in a pickle, spend your way out of it. And he will point as an example that stimulus plan that he got through.
Well, in fact, if you look at history, as you well know, you look at President Reagan, you look at President Kennedy, tax decreases increase the vitality of the American economy and actually increase revenue to the federal government. So the solution is what we have embraced. It's H.R. 470, the Economic Recovery Act, that would decrease taxes on families all across this nation, would decrease taxes and allow businesses to flourish and begin to buy down, decrease that spending. That's the solution. That's where we need to be.
Congressman, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Neil.
Well, now I know why Congress doesn't care how much stimulus costs, the Congressman notwithstanding. They know they'll never, ever, ever have to pay